This video, I've even lit some candles to give it a bit more ceremonial je ne sais quoi. Here I am, back in front of my delightful tarot board, my standard tarot and rune cloth out there. And we're going to go back to probably one of the most divine tarot decks the world has ever known. I mean, seriously, my relationship with the imagery of the Night Sun Tarot has gone through a bit of a journey in its own right. I mean, there's lots of different thoughts and feelings I've got about it, and just the way in which it expresses itself is just pretty unique. The imagery, I mean, I can't really get over how good it is. Even in the box itself, it has the Alpha and the Omega on the flaps, which basically points out that although it's a tarot deck, although it is coming from a tarot and therefore occultic perspective, it's also connecting with different traditions simultaneously, including the Judeo-Christian traditions, which is why the Emperor and the Empress card from this deck is quite so interesting and different, because you don't normally have something quite so overtly essentially Christian within a tarot deck, combined with so many other things. I mean, that's why it's so good. You've got the astrological, I mean, having a symbol of Jesus the Messiah like that with astrological symbols around him, I think is awesome. And also portraying Jesus as a woman as well, I think is also a very interesting way of doing things to get theological messages across. The various different forms of idolatry that people have in faith, because all faith is basically idolatry, isn't necessarily all that useful, because we're all basically part of the same thing. And we've also got the various different high magic elemental symbols that the triangle-based Tat was, which are of course like a breakdown of the six-rayed star, trying to suggest that the universe is God and God is the universe, and the universe can be dissected into convenient compartments through using the system of the triangles and the triangle with a bar and the rest of that kind of stuff in it. And the complexity of this tarot deck means that I just love it. I absolutely adore it. And I adore it because of the complexity, of the depth, of the artistic accuracy, and a certain level of precision, and just the combination of so much stuff. You've got a bit of Hebrew writing thrown in there, you've got some images which are reminiscent of seals from the Lesser Key of Solomon, you've got your more traditional tarot varieties of artistry which is being thrown in as well. Here you go, that's one of your elemental symbols there being expressed beautifully, and that's on the pentacles. That's obviously the earth symbol, but just the complexity of that. I just want you to get your hands on a copy of the Night Sun Tarot deck, not because it has a specific divinatory power, because I don't think it does specifically, although I have used it myself. If I'm doing a tarot reading for myself, I use this deck because it's more to do with like your higher conscience and contemplation about like the way in which the world is put together and the way in which things are influencing or affecting your very life. But I don't use this one for my work when I'm working as a professional reader. Yes, some of the imagery, like the death card on here, looks disgusting at first glance, but then you look at the mysticism of it. The skeleton is pregnant, therefore it's talking about new life, new birth, new rebirth, the sense of transformation within your own life. Every single change you go through is basically part of a new beginning of your soul, of your mind, of your being. And even when they've got like more human characters, there's a certain quality of accuracy and precision to the facial expression which makes it seem and feel like an individual, an actual individual that's being expressed there. And then with all the other symbolism, you can develop much more of an understanding of like who this person is, what role they have, and seeing this connection between like the Middle Eastern, even Arabic, and also tribal imagery makes it just like so absolutely powerful. Maybe there's even some connection with some of the saints, which I haven't really looked into, as some of these cards seem to express a possibility of. Maybe. I haven't studied how saints fit into occultism, apart from apparently the fact that the Saint Bartholomew is supposed to be very powerful against Lucifer, according to some versions of the Lesser Key of Solomon. Make of that what you will. But what is this tarot deck explaining to me? What is it showing me? The imagery itself can evoke a wide variety of different emotions. Like this one here, this is the Seven of Cups. It's kind of tranquil, it's kind of meditative, it's kind of contemplative, but it's also got this slight feeling of like there's another dimension going on there which might not necessarily be as pleasant. There's a feeling of the yin and the yang about the symbolism. There's both the beautiful and the ugly thrown in, the angelic and the primitive and the tribal. The sense of ideas which is just crossing so many different boundaries and so many different ways of like looking at the imagery itself. I mean, I always see new things in this when I take a look at it. I always feel new things. I mean, sometimes like you need a magnifying glass to go into all the real detail of all the symbols properly. Okay? And sitting down with a magnifying glass and just looking at the artwork and just sitting with it, I think will change your perspective as to what tarot art could be about and where it could take you. So this is one of the many reasons why I feel so blessed to be in this trade, okay? Because like, it's literally all there. Everything from the Middle East going further west, there's just this this card here, this one's amazing. This is the Magician of the Major Arcana. Yes, it's got some simple symbols in it. The number 777, for instance. It's got the tools of the tarot. The character in it is not actually drawn as if it is a Judeo-Christian priest. It's drawn more like a strangely Cthulhu-esque type character. This kind of like strange hodgepodge, all kind of like put together in different ways, but also with this feeling of all of the elements there, and this strange abracadabra seal behind him. It really is kind of intense, the quality of the blending of the ideas and the symbolism. And that's why I want to bring this to you today. I mean, during the days of Eliphas Levi, he used the Oswald Wirth Tarot. That's the one that he thought was the best. I think the way in which the animistic cultures, shall we call it, have changed is that there's more information and more ideas out there. There's more of a cross-cultural movement. Okay, those people who are so obsessed with like following a particular tradition won't necessarily see it or enjoy it, but people like me who take a universalist spirituality sees decks like this as being something which like unites all of us and brings us all together in some strange way if we could all like appreciate the subtlety of the messages in this one tarot deck, for instance. Okay, obviously if everyone got a copy of the Night Sun Tarot, the world will still be full of like stupid people, if you get my drift. But for those people who are capable of looking and seeing it, I think you'll start to see much more richness using the Night Sun Tarot for specific set apart contemplative exercises than you would with other decks. It has a different vibration. I mean, I showed you recently the Tarot Familiars deck. It's childish, it's immature, but it's cute, and that's one of the things that makes it. Okay, the Night Sun is not cute. It is challenging. It is artistically complicated. It is nuanced. In some ways, a little bit verging on the horrific, but not quite, if you get my drift. I don't think I can quite say enough good things about it at this stage in my understanding. Obviously if you've got a history with some of the more traditional tarot decks and some of the more traditional high magic designs, such as Golden Dawn, which was like one of my first proper decks which I used when I was doing reading full-time professionally, then that'll give you a background to a certain extent in understanding some of the symbolism of the Night Sun. Same too with the wonderful and very well known Book of Thoth Tarot, which I think is also a good deck. I appreciate the artist, I don't necessarily appreciate the guy who inspired the artist, shall we call it. But again, the Night Sun is a step forward. It is a different way of addressing the same problems, and it is quite powerful in that respect. If you haven't yet got yourself a copy of it, and you are a proper spiritual person, a person of faith, a proper person of occultism, a person of magic and witchcraft, and you want to expand your understanding with something which will truly inspire you and challenge you and make you look at things differently, then I believe this is the right way to go. Night Sun Tarot. Okay.